Hello folks, ReverendCrystalCox here, Goddess Church. I have talked to you folks before in prior videos about Bigfoot. I'm going to talk to you a little bit now about my experience. So growing up, my dad was, he used to work in Cascadia, Oregon, which is just outside of Sweet Home. And he talked about, it was common knowledge around there that, you know, Bigfoot was there. People would see him on logging units. It was, you know, just kind of common knowledge. That's when I was a kid, right? And I just turned 50, and 2 years ago, I myself went there and visited. Anyway, the point is that even now, it's common knowledge there. Okay, so I grew up knowing that Bigfoot was real. It was just a thing. There's just no way that it wasn't. My dad was, he'd worked on a logging unit outside there, and they were driving back home from work at the end of the day, and they, this Bigfoot was running alongside of them, not like right next to the car, but running alongside them kind of in the woods at 30 miles an hour. They were going 30, 40 miles an hour, and this, you know, bear-like, human-like, you know, Bigfoot was running alongside. And so, as a matter of fact, he wasn't like telling a tall tale. He wasn't, it was matter of fact. He wasn't like trying to shock anybody. It was his experience. And so, I just always knew they were a thing. And so, when I turned 18, I rode the train to Oregon. My stepsister, which would be his daughter, long stories, these are me swishing stories, so I don't go on too many tangents. You know how I like to do. Right, then I forget. Okay, so she's getting married. Her guy's got this big old truck, you know, the monster truck. So big off the ground, a short box Chevy. I don't know what year, but you know, it's just really cool truck, but big off the ground in a short box. And after the wedding, I stayed with her probably a week. Somewhere the night before, or somewhere right around that, her girlfriend and I, and her, so the three of us, went up into the mountains. My stepsister's kind of a fun-time gal. So we're up in the mountains, right? There's no homes. It's national forest. It's not people. Like, there's just like way up in the mountains in the middle of the night. Why? Because that's what you do right before you're getting married, right? I was 18, so she's probably what, like 23 or whatever, right? So we're up there, and she's all like happy and whatever. And so she was driving, and the music, the song was just this great song. And we're parked like on this old forest road, right, where you go further and further in, where it's like a grass road. Yeah, in I don't know what time it was, but it was pitch black. It's like midnight or something. And trees all around. And she really likes the song on the radio. So she stops. And I'm sitting in the middle, and her friend gets out, and she gets out, and they both get on the hood of the car and start dancing. And, you know, it's like, okay, whatever. So I'm kind of in the car, and then I eventually get out of the car, whatever. So then they get down from the car, and the truck, and they come around the back. And I don't know if we put the tailgate down. We're getting ready to sit on the tailgate or do something else. And we're all three standing there, into the truck. Like, and right here, like where you could touch, there was two red, I'm going to call them red eyes, but two red dots right there, right? Like, if you're outside of a bar, you might think maybe a cigarette, but it wasn't like orange, and it wasn't like, you know, how like a cigarette will glow only when you pull in or whatever, but it was red. And I looked at it, and I looked at my sister, and I looked at it, and she looked at it. Her friend looked at it. Woo, we didn't say a friggin' thing, man. We just got out of there. So we all jumped in. So I ended up driving because I jumped in the driver's seat, and we were gone off that mountain. And I had read later about the red eyes, the Sasquatch and stuff. And so, you know, fast forward, I was like 18 and I'm 50 now. I have always felt like Bigfoot was interdimensional. The high-pitched noises, sometimes when kids would be found like 60 miles away or something, I thought it was like a Bigfoot, not in a negative way. I mean, I don't know how all that works, but the 411 stuff and all that, I don't know if it's related. But I always thought, well, if people are seeing this creature sometimes and sometimes not, to me it seemed obvious that it was interdimensional. But if you don't believe things that can cross over from realm to realm, then you wouldn't believe that, they're like, no, it's just a Bigfoot and it's out there somewhere. But yeah, so that's that story. So I always thought it was interdimensional. And so there's this guy in this area that I live. I live in Port Townsend, Washington. This guy in Squim named Ron Morehead. And he wrote a book called Quantum Bigfoot. And I seen a write-up about it a couple years ago in the local paper. And I was like, all right, that's cool. I thought I would talk to him at some point. And I got the book a couple weeks ago. But I hadn't really met anyone else that was talking about Bigfoot being quantum, being interdimensional. And again, I don't know what all's in here, but I just thought that was kind of neat. And anyway, so like I said, to me, Bigfoot is a matter of fact. It's not a negative. I was scared because I would have been scared if it was, a fluffy, not a fluffy bunny, but just the most benign person, like just anything at all, like, because we're up there in the middle of the night in Forestry Road. It wasn't like, so yeah, I was scared, but I didn't get a feeling of fear. Like, I don't feel now looking back like it was something that was going to attack me, but I wasn't going to stick around and see what it was. Okay, so Quantum Bigfoot. Going to just read it a little bit, and then you can check back. I'll eventually do a playlist and read more, but tonight I'll probably only read one batch. Okay, so it says the Quantum Bigfoot brings science and spirituality together. Classical Bigfoot, quantum physics, attributes of Bigfoot, Bigfoot language, biblical perspective, ancient text, classical physics, alien connection. Ron Morehead first encountered Bigfoot over 45 years ago in the high Sierra Mountains of California. Since then, he's traveled the world from British Columbia into Siberia, Nepal, into the arid desert and high country of Peru and Bolivia in search for the answers. Answers not only to the unexplainable strange happenings that took place at the Sierra camp, but also to the most bizarre reports and questions in this field of hominid investigations. Very few researchers of his caliber are brave enough to publicly consider the hundreds of recorded encounters that include that spooky action at a distance, says Einstein. His combined decades of experience and tireless hours of research into the realm of quantum physics as it pertains to Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and to our own spirituality has resulted in this fascinating new book, The Quantum Bigfoot. Okay, let's give it a go. Okay, we got a picture. Okay. Written in 2017. Oh, sweet. He dedicated the book to his daughter. Sweet. Okay. Bigfoot conference. All right. Okay, let's just do this. Statement by Bob Gimlin. March 19, 2017. It was October of 1967 when Roger Patterson and I saw a Bigfoot at Bluff Creek, California. It was a real shock for us when she stood up from the edge of that creek and started walking away. In all that excitement, I've had grizzly bears do that. Why? I know it was a tangent, but I was sitting there, it was a forestry job, and the gal I was with, we were on lunch. We took an hour lunch. We were doing our paperwork and stuff for our tree surveys and having our lunch. It was definitely at least an hour. And then our lunch got up, we're wrapping it up, getting ready to leave, and we're sitting kind of on these logs kind of over this area. And we get it ready to leave, and this grizzly bear stands up. It had been there the whole time. And then it just stood up, and then it just walked away. I've lots of stories of forestry and things that go on in the forest. And seeing birds disappear right in front of my eyes and going into other realms. Ravens mostly. All right, start over. Okay, 1967. Okay, I saw Bigfoot at Bluff Creek. Okay, real shock. In all that excitement, Roger was still able to get his camera out of his saddlebag and start taking a picture. He thought it would be the proof that people needed to see. What a lucky day, or so he thought. That film has become very popular, but still, it didn't actually prove anything to science. It was only a few years after that I'd heard of Ron, your author, so this author, and Al Berry's recordings, and their interesting story of encountering a family of these things in the Sierras. These things. In '78, we were all in Canada at a conference. When Dr. Kirlan, Kirlan, gave his presentation on those sounds, Ron and I met, and he invited me to visit him at his home in Merced, California. My plan for that summer was to ride my horse from the Mojave Desert all the way to Canada. So I loaded up my horse and mule, took off for California, but stopped and took Ron up on his invitation, especially since I was fixing to ride through those same mountains where they'd ran into those Bigfoots. We visited for a while, and then I was on my way. But I got to hear those sounds that he and Al recorded. Anyway, at that time I realized that Ron and I had something besides Bigfoot in common. It was horses, hats, and bridles. Since that time, he and I have met at many of these Bigfoot meetings and become good friends. I haven't read his new book yet, but I've always loved to hear his interesting stories. I wish him success and hope many years of friendship. Awesome! Okay. Preface. After researching the Bigfoot-Sasquatch phenomena for over 45 years, I realized that many people are still in Never Never Land about these beings. Although many have their paradigm fixed, no one in fact knows for sure who or what these beings really are, how they originated, or how they do some of the things they do. Now, I always, no, they're alien, yeah, they're interdimensional, they're, yeah. Most of us believe almost all of what we can see with our eyes, but often doubt what we can't see. I believe that any mystery through the method of science and or technology can be solved. My first book, Voices in the Wilderness, was my 40-year chronicle of how this fascinating subject started for me. Now my research points into the direction I would have never believed in the 70s. The Quantum Bigfoot is my effort to connect all the dots, painting a picture that will help fellow researchers and at the same time bring awareness to the public of what these beings are reportedly capable of and why. After all, if they can find us, why haven't we found them? Frequency. It's all about frequency. For me, Bigfoot, they can lower, we can't raise or higher frequency. Oh, I just love this. For me, Bigfoot is more than just a stealthy animal, like a black puma or a Japanese grizzly bear. Many such animals are very elusive and are able to stay hidden from humans. But Bigfoot is different in a way that seems to baffle scientists and researchers alike. They just don't play by the same rules. From eyeshine cones This flame is behaving very bizarre. Hello, who's ever here? I love you. Okay. From eyeshine cones to tree knocks and glyphs, to how some of them might even be able to change their vibrational frequency to be out of our perception. So that's how they disappear. They change their vibrational frequency at will. I've seen birds do it, and I've always known Bigfoot's doing it. But, like I said, I've never seen a Bigfoot other than seeing that, what I saw, but I didn't, like, see it go in and out of... Anyway. I'm always shushing myself. I'll offer the science behind how I believe many of those unusual topics can be understood. I've always thought the sound. People act like the craziest sounds come out of the forest, right? I think it's the actual frequency of the sound that moves them in and out of dimensions. It may, I don't know if there's a spirit here. It may not be the science you learned in high school, but it is an established science called quantum physics. The mathematics of quantum physics is accepted worldwide, blah, blah, blah. However, even when it's growing popularity, many classical scientists in a disciplined, three-dimensional model would not even discuss it with me. They want to believe that a hominid-like creature exists, but have a problem researching outside of their classical discipline. Yeah. In this book, I will quote the Nobel Prize winners, physicists, and intellectual scholars. Much of the information used to support my theory was obtained from scientific articles and journals. Quantum physics, in my opinion, is very much like spirituality, and I think they must combine to get a closer look at this Bigfoot phenomena. Self-taught in biblical history, Greek mythology, and with an unrelenting desire to understand quantum physics, I strive to put this book together in a format that I hope will be useful to researchers and all who wish to pursue this subject. After all, most of us believe in a supreme intelligence, God, which we can't see. We know the cosmos is definitely out there. For many, creation took place in 6 days. But science teaches evolution is how everything actually started. Can it all mix together and make sense? For me, it can. Okay. As you read this book, you may notice that rather than using the term that, as in these creatures that roam the backwoods, I use the term who, as in who roam the backwoods. This is done because I think of them as a type of sapient human hybrid. But not completely human like us. We're not completely human anyway. Also, in this book, I've intentionally capitalized the term Bigfoot, as opposed to Bigfoot, lowercase, because they are not scientifically established as a species, like bears or wolves or humans. This seems to bother some people, but I think it stands out better, so my logic has now been addressed. Right or wrong? After all, I am writing the book. And this is Ron Morehead in Sequim, Washington, which is about 30 minutes from me. Blah, blah, blah. Irrelevant. Still fun to say, right? Okay, introduction, the Quantum Bigfoot. Are you ready? This is so exciting! Calm down. Okay, we all know that light travels faster than sound. That's why certain people appear bright until you hear them speak. Listen, if you don't settle down, I'm going to blow you out. Okay. It's probable that Einstein meant that quote in jest. After all, he was known to have a dry sense of humor. But there is a very serious side to the characteristic of light. Because of light, our eyes only observe reflections. And that observance is only available to us when light is present. Quantum physics says that nothing is real until it is observed. So it appears that observation makes things real to us. But is it contingent upon having light? Or is there another way for us to see? To really see what's real? It is written that God is light. John 1:5. Bigfoot is unique in many ways, and I've heard many reports over the years telling of unusual, seemingly unanswerable, miracle-like events that have taken place around these giants. I've always believed that there must be a law or rule within science behind any so-called miracle, that the paranormal is, with understanding, normal. Exactly. The candles are singing. They're the flame is dancing oddly. Anyway, and it's so reflected in them. Okay. Therefore, miracles are not miracles at all. Just our lack of understanding the law that supports them. Right, like quantum healing, quantum shift, energy healing. The thought pattern points me directly to quantum physics. This thought pattern. For a long time, my question was, can our thoughts surpass the speed of light? Einstein said that nothing can do that, but he was referring to mass. Can anything be changed if we, within our minds, visualize and feel the circumstance differently, as Jesus taught? According to quantum physics, that answer is a resounding yes. Some want to call it pseudoscience. Often it's referred to as New Age stuff, and sometimes its properties are denied altogether. But nevertheless, quantum physics is an established science that at work throughout the universe and is at work throughout the universe. And it's how we project reality every second of every day, quantum. Okay. Let me start that over. Quantum physics is an established science that at work throughout the universe and must be included as part of the nature of Bigfoot, who, believe it or not, stealthily roams this planet, most often undetected. If all of nature works within the rules of quantum physics, why not Bigfoot? We are all made of the same thing, waves and particles, energy to matter. To me, it seems ridiculous to separate ourselves from the rules that apply in the quantum world. Exactly. So why not use these laws to try and understand these giants seen and described by thousands of people over thousands of years? In this book, I'm taking a layman's stab at bringing what I've learned through this science and coupling it with fascinating ancient text over the backdrop of my personal experience. I think this will offer some answers to many of the unusual reports that I've heard over my years of research. God, quantum physics, Bigfoot. The intent of this book is not meant to diminish who or what God is. It is meant to help with understanding of the natural laws that God put in place when God positioned people on earth. And you're a God. You're a creator God. Some Bible-toting, God-fearing, Sunday morning go-to-church folks might be thinking that they close this book right now. Well, because they wouldn't be picking this book up. But hold on a minute. I'd like to challenge you to move forward with discernment. Okay. Stop with the accents. Stop lipping me. Okay. I believe quantum physics is the rule behind how a certain man called Jesus did his miracles. Yes, yes, yes. We're going to talk a bunch about that. And a bunch about energy healing. Quantum physics is every frickin' thing. We project realities based on our own belief system. Okay? So, Jesus did quantum healing, did psychic healing, faith healing. He certainly was not a Christian. He didn't worship himself. Okay? He came here to teach every one of you, through your ancestors, to be like him. That we're all quantum, we're all healers. If you convince somebody of a knowing, mind, heart, body, soul, of something, they say they have cancer, you convince them that they don't, in that knowing, in that shift of energy, that raising of frequency, they shift into a version of them that doesn't have that. And Jesus came here to teach us those things. And was, the Dark Lords ran off with the human. Anyway, okay. This would mean that God works through the laws that he created. And he often does that through his connected, sapient man. The heart of the wise teaches his mouth and adds learning to his lips. Proverbs 16:23. For me, this idealistic belief answers many questions about psychic phenomena, telepathy, biblical miracles, etc. I don't believe that all those who claim to be psychic readers, telepaths, or shaman, healers, are malevolent. Blah, blah, blah. If their core values and fundamental actions show love and caring for others, then in mind it comes from their God-given attributes to express that love. 1 Corinthians 13. It's my hope that you will begin to embrace this concept because in this book I am persuaded to present a reasonable correlation between the rules of quantum science as the foundation of spirituality and how it could relate to these creatures known as Bigfoot. After over 45 years researching the mystery of Bigfoot, interviewing a lot of witnesses, and trying to solve the strange happening that took place at our Sierra camp, I think Einstein's bizarre statement relating to quantum physics, spooky action at a distance, is coming into view. So goes my introduction, my creature writing thoughts, and how it connects with spirituality and physics in the quantum big fork. Action at a distance, like yogis, you can transport yourself. You can teleport. You can appear in someone's room. You can do energy healing long distance. There's the twin thing, and the twin flame thing, and the whole action at a distance. You do something here, and it affects something there. It's fascinating stuff. Okay, so chapter 1. All that brings us to chapter 1. I don't know when this will cut off, but we're just going to let it, Hello, candles. Don't get cozy to candles, you might get burned. Okay. For the sake of defining a giant, let's clear the air. If every one of us were 14 foot tall, we would think of an 8 foot tall person as a midget. If all of us were an average of 4 feet, those that were 8 feet tall would be a giant. So for the clarity in this book, I define a giant as 8 feet or more tall, albeit most of us are over 4 feet tall. So have giants really been on Earth? Absolutely. The remains of giants have been found all over the world. Yeah, there's a bunch in the Grand Canyon caves in there, giant, the Smithsonian had the giant skeletons. Oh my goodness, right? As recently as 2013, 7 were unearthed in southern Ecuador, and 5 more just 20 miles south, close to the Peruvian border. They were between 7 and 8 feet tall, and due to their proximity may have been part of a local tribe. I've been to Peru and Bolivia twice researching the enigma remains of pre-Inca people who, according to 2 independent scientists who I was with, were not completely human. My trips there were to see if the mysteries associated with them could relate to the giants in North America. My crumb trail for the connection began in South America, continued through Central America, and went all the way into Canada. But wait, back up. Just how did the cartoonish name of Bigfoot get its start? And could it relate to the pre-Incan people and the Ecuadorian giants? The term Bigfoot was coined in 1958 by Jerry Crew for obvious reasons at the time. Jerry was operating a bulldozer for a lumber company while clearing a road in an uninhabited and loosely surveyed territory in the far northwest California. He came across huge 5-toed prints. The local newspaper got wind of this and folks were alerted. Something with a big foot is roaming the mountains of Humboldt and Del Norte counties in Northern California. Love it. I've studied all of that. Northern California is so magical. Big trees. There's this one particular area where the most famous, or pretty much the only picture of the Bigfoot creature. And I thought about moving there, but Humboldt County, very famous for its Mendocino bud, but Humboldt County, marijuana. I spent my 40th birthday at a ranch there up in the wilderness, and just a magical place. Anyway, more on those stories another day. Okay. All over the world, it seems beings like Jerry Crew's Northwest California Bigfoot or similar creatures have a name tagged to them like Sasquatch, Wildman, Yeti, and Yeren, Y-E-R-E-N, being well-known examples. Whatever they're called, there is a mystery as to what they actually are. Did they evolve naturally, as science says we did? Do they all share the same genome? Can they crossbreed with humans? Could they be of alien origin? All the above. Most of the scientists who privately believe these creatures exist think there could only be one type of species or subspecies. Therefore, their anatomy must be the same or at least very similar. This suggests to me that these scientists are not really considering other possibilities, but they have acquired the discipline that requires them to examine the facts and nothing but the facts. The commonalities of these giants are they are very hairy, have very human-like facial features, and can move very fast. The Bigfoot family, who I interacted with and will describe later, has a complex language. Does this mean that all of them use and have language? In John Green's interview with Albert Ostman, purported the Bigfoot abductee, he said that they were chattering with some kind of language. And then it says in chapter 21 of this book. So yeah, different sort of frequencies and codes. Yeah, totally believable. Some professionals say that if one has the attributes for language, they must all have that attribute. Some witnesses report a sagittal crest, which S-A-G-I-T-T-A-L, crest, while others say, no, the head was rounded like humans. Their footprints seem to be very profusely, but due to Patterson film of 1967, scientists want to judge all prints by the for sure prints cast at that film site. However, as noted in the different pictures on page 3 and 4, all of our prints from the Sierra camp area, whether in the snow at the camp or on the ridge, were splayed and had a very, very little arch. Yeah, the picture's not really that clear. And yesterday when I showed you the book, I seen that the book was white anyway, so. Alright. If you want more information, ReverendCrystalCox at gmail.com. So yeah, some of the casts that they did, yeah. Okay, so there is a large group of people who think they must be remnants of the Gigantophis, a giant ape-like creature who supposedly went extinct 100,000 or more years ago.